billion. No, no, no. Increases it by $683 billion over 5 years. Of course people look at Washington and say, what are you guys thinking? Don't tell me that you're helping the economy by lowering taxes by $100 billion and then days later think that we're going to be surprised, we're not going to understand that you then propose raising almost $700 billion on the same taxpayer, that you're lowering taxes because it helps the economy. So look, if there's an agreement, bipartisan agreement, that lowering taxes by $100 billion helps the economy, which there is it that hard to understand that the flip side of that is that if you raise taxes by $700 billion, it hurts the economy? And yet, that's what this Congress did over the objections of those of us that are speaking here and many others, but that's what the majority party did. So, again, why is it that Congress has the lowest number, frankly, approval rating since probably, these things have been counted? Because they must think we're nuts. Because they must think we're totally, absolutely insane and crazy and have no idea what we're doing. Because, again, I might not be the smartest guy in the whole world, but it doesn't take the smartest guy in the whole world, as you know, to understand that if there's a bipartisan consensus that lowering taxes in a year, $100 billion, helps the economy, that there should be a consensus that raising taxes by $700 billion over 5 years would do just the opposite. Oh, no. Because our desire, the majority's desire, to just tax and spend, just, frankly, goes above and beyond any common sense, any logic, any sense of reality. So I just want to thank the gentlewoman from Tennessee for your leadership, because you have not stopped fighting for the taxpayer, for the small family, for families, for small businesses, for farmers, for the people that real life, not D.C. D.C. is broken. And again, thank you for your common sense. Thank you for your fight for the taxpayer. I also need to add to that one of the people that I frankly most admire in this process, Congressman Ryan, who is the ranking member of the Budget Committee, who understands the budget better than frankly anybody else, and who has taught me so much, as well as Mr. Conaway, who brings to this process something that's so greatly needed, which is common sense. Thank the three of you. And again, look, yes, the American people frankly have good reason to be skeptical when they see that we lower taxes on one side, and because we say it's going to help the economy, and then days later, the majority raises taxes way above that and pretends that it's not going to have an effect, hoping that people will not learn the truth. But the problem is that that truth is out there, and people's pocketbooks are going to be hit really, really hard.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Does the gentleman remember when we had this markup where the budget was written in the Budget Committee? We had 36 amendments. Remember the different kinds of amendments we had and the votes, the way they took place? We had votes on whether or not it's right to raise the child tax, or to cut the child tax credit in half, whether it's right or not to bring back the marriage penalty, whether we should or should not raise income tax rates across the board for all income taxpayers. Vote after vote after vote after vote on all these taxes. And our friends on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, voted time over again to raise those taxes on individual tax rates. They voted specifically to cut the child tax credit in half. They voted specifically to bring back the marriage tax penalty. They voted specifically to raise income tax rates across the board, to bring back death taxes, to raise capital gains and dividends taxes. And they did this so they could pass a budget that increased spending. And so I want to thank the gentleman from Florida who has the most passion and who so well articulates the problems we have in America today. I want to thank you for your knowledge, your passion, and your understanding. And I also wanted to just ask you if you recall all those votes and all those differences that we've seen here in just this Congress in this last short year.
I want to thank the gentleman, if I may.
I yield to the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you. Just very briefly,
Yes.
that was frankly one of the saddest days that I've experienced in this process, because there's so much rhetoric that's thrown around here, and we've heard the rhetoric that these are tax cuts on the wealthy, and then you and others came up with the specific amendments to say, no, let's just talk about the issue. Let's take rhetoric off the table for a second. let's not be partisan. Let's just look at the issue. Let's see that if there's something that we can agree on. And those amendments were brought to the committee. And those amendments were, as you just mentioned, the per-child tax credit. And then we kept hearing, well, but those are tax cuts on the wealthy. And I remember the argument in the discussion, well, again, not only the wealthy get married. And tax cuts on, remember the 10% bracket.
Yeah.
Individuals that are the working poor, that now earn such little money that they don't pay federal income tax, and they shouldn't, are going to now be required to start paying federal income tax. But then they say, but those are tax cuts on the wealthy. It's not the wealthy. When you cut through the chase, you get the most smoke and mirrors, and we were able to bring these individual amendments to the committee. And the sad part, the reason I say that was really sad, is because those amendments were defeated on a partisan vote. On a partisan vote. Amendments to keep the taxes low on if you have children. Amendments to make sure that people that are working poor, that have a hard time paying for gasoline and paying for groceries and don't pay federal income tax because they're so poor right now, still don't have to pay them. And they voted against those amendments. Frankly, there's a reason why. There's a reason why people are skeptical and people don't believe what comes out of Washington. And frankly, they have a very good reason to have that attitude.